Maybe. It's okay. It's recording, and then what I'm going to do is I'm taking these and I'm going to cut them up, and I'm going to overlay my slides rather than me standing there talking the whole time. So I'm editing. This is raw footage. Really, just more for me, my vocal.
I'm leaving. You were here. You should have joined us. We're keeping more fun with you, Mark.
Because I was my wife.
No, you're fine.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing okay. How about you?
I am marvelous.
Good.
We'll make sure she
I
understands.
encourage her to get coffee shifts.
Oh, dang.
One thing I didn't bring, a pen.
We will get started in just a second here. Chromebooks only today. If you didn't bring a Chromebook with you, grab one off of the stack back there. Presentation is right here, and I need you to join my Schoology course. This is the course code for that. I'll be right back. Yeah, just go ahead. All you have to do is just sign in with your username at vbstudents.com or vbschools.com. When you type in that, it takes out the other. All right, the course code's on the next couple of slides, so I'm going to go ahead and slip forward here. All right, so first things first, this is a no judgment zone today. We're all learning Schoology, so we're all kind of in the same boat. We tossed everybody into the pool and everybody did what they needed to do to get started. Some of the things that I've seen, some teachers have some really, really fantastic things. Some teachers are still struggling a little bit. Most people are doing pretty well, okay. But what we're doing today is I want to show you some tips and tricks to make some things more student-centered and more student-friendly in Schoology. So our goals for today, the codes are on the next slide if you need them. Our goal for today is to work to develop more student-centered, visually appealing assignments and materials. And we want you to try and think about two questions as you go through today. Number one, how can I make this easier for students? And number two, how can I make this more visually appealing? I understand that it takes a long time to set up lessons and to recreate lessons for in Schoology, but what the time that you take this year is less time that you're going to have to take next year. It is kind of front loaded, so as we get into it, it may be easier as we go. Some concerns that I know people have is, well, okay, so I'm going to have to do this year, and then next year we're going to have something new. We actually have a 5-year contract for Schoology right now. This is year 2 of a 5-year contract. Downtown is actually already working on extending that to another 5-year contract. So Schoology is going to be here for at least the next 8 years or so. So we have this, it's going to be around. The examples that I have, they're linked, a lot of them in the speaker notes for this presentation. And they will link to the Schoology course in my Sandbox. And I set this up in my Sandbox course knowing that at the end of the day, you're going to get kicked out of here. I'm actually teaching this course at the Digital Learning Summer Summit, and I did that on purpose so I didn't end up with 400 people in my class forever. I will. So keep a copy of this presentation, and then you've got the codes, and if you need it, just let me know, and I'll give you the codes again. You can rejoin the course anytime you want, not just during this time period, but keep in mind that you will get automatically booted out of the class every night. All right, so where did this class come from? So in November and December, students and teachers were given the Schoology survey on Schoology. And I just wanted to share some of the data from that. So how much this was from the student survey, how much do you agree with each statement about teachers in your school? So my teachers know how to use Schoology and help me learn. So 77%, 78% of our students agree with that. So we're doing pretty good there, right? My teachers have shown me how to use Schoology. Again, we're kind of almost in 77, 78% range on that. So we're doing a pretty good job there. My teachers have shown me how to use Schoology to learn independently. Slips a little bit, but we're still pretty well in the favorable range on that. So we're doing a pretty good job there as well. Now, on the next page, using Schoology helps me finish work at my own speed, learn at my own speed. They're kind of in the middling ranges here. But one thing that really I gave me pause here. Get more excited about learning, and 80% said no. So we do have to take that with a grain of salt because you know how students are. How excited are they going to be about learning? They'd rather be playing video games or something else. So, so that one was kind of interesting for me. The rest of these are kind of, they like that they can monitor their own learning and show what they've learned.
Well, I think the strongly story comes up with two. Which doesn't make them excited about learning. One, they're used to doing everything on a computer, but that's when it comes to social media.
Yep.
So there's the learning curve for them.
Right.
And then there's the horse with blinders on, okay? If
Exactly.
I don't
Tunnel
see it,
vision.
if it's not on a piece of paper,
Yep.
then it doesn't exist.
Exactly. So the next question I have here, how satisfied are you with Schoology? More than half of our students are dissatisfied with Schoology. And we'll talk about why some of those things are in just a second, but I wanted to show you this. This is just Salem. This is out of 1,374 Salem students that answered this question. Now, from the teacher perspective, 73% of our teachers like Schoology. So what's the disconnect here? Okay, so I'm gonna tell you a quick story. In 1980 something, I bought this mountain bike, okay? This is kind of, mountain bikes were new and they were just kind of coming out. But this is not my first mountain bike. This is my second mountain bike. My first one weighed about 450 pounds, had steel rims. You couldn't stop if it was wet. You grabbed the brakes and you just kept going forever. But this was a significant improvement. This bike weighed about 32 pounds or so. But back in 1985, that was pretty good. New mountain bikes look like this. They got all sorts of bells and whistles. They got front and rear suspension. They have hydraulic disc brakes. You can stop pretty much anywhere, anytime with those things. This bike weighs about 22 pounds compared to 30 plus. A lot easier to ride. This bike has, this was an 18 speed, which was an improvement over my 15 speed mountain bike that I had before that, but this one is 33 speeds. So this one has a lot of advantages, but the problem is it also has more moving parts. If I don't adjust the shocks for the terrain I'm riding in and for my body weight, it doesn't work well, right? It'll bottom out if I hit bumps, it'll bounce around if I have it adjusted the other way. The brakes are hydraulic, they require more tuning and fiddling. This bike has index shifting, which means that you push a button and it goes to the next gear. Some of them now even have electronic shifting. You push a button and it goes to the next gear that you're looking for. This one has what's called friction shifting. So infinitely variable shifting, so you could move the lever a little bit, and if it wasn't quite in gear, you could adjust it a little bit on the fly. This with index shifting, you push the button and it's not adjusted, well, too bad, you're stuck with it. There's no way to fix it while you're moving. So my point is this is Google Classroom. This is Schoology, right? This did what it did. This does a heck of a lot more, right? I can go farther off-road with this. I can tackle tougher trails with this because it's got better everything. Well, the kids liked Google Classroom. This is what we hear from them a lot. It was simple, right? Friction shifting rather than index shifting. But Google Classroom, it wasn't really designed to be a full-fledged learning management system. It was really designed to share Google Docs and get the kids to turn in Google Docs easily. That's kind of its forte in life. Automatically makes a copy of those things, organizes it in drives, arranges the file permissions. Pretty simple to use. That's about it, right? It does do links to other websites. You can do that. You can post announcements. Differentiate websites, that's new. The version that we use didn't have that. That's been added to it since we were there. Late notifications, that was added later. So some of these things weren't in the version that we were using, right? They were things that we wanted, but they weren't there. Schoology, on the other hand, is a full-fledged learning management system. It's designed from the ground up to do a lot of things. We have better organization. We can create folders in there. Google Classroom, it was just, straight downstream of everything. You want to find something you did in September, keep scrolling. It's going to be at the bottom of the list. We can add assignments. We can add discussions. We can add tests and quizzes, everything within Schoology. We didn't have to go to quizzes to make a quiz or Google Forms to make a quiz or any of those other pieces that we had to piece together. Yep, you can make test banks. You can share materials and entire courses with other teachers. The gradebook Passback is, believe it or not, it's actually in testing right now. DOT finally approved it for testing purposes. 2 schools are testing it, so there's hope that next year we'll start the year with it. We'll see how that works. Attendance we're not using in here, but Mastery, you can tag test questions with SOL objectives, and then you can pull up the Mastery and see how many kids have been tested how many times on these objectives and how they've done. You want to figure out which kids need to go to your boot camp. Quick and easy if you've used Mastery standards with stuff. You can grade with rubrics. You can do all sorts of stuff. So this is the new fangled mountain bike, but if it's not tweaked well, it's not going to work well for kids, right? So the purpose of today's class is to figure out some ways that we can tweak things a little better to make it work a little better for our students. And I want to ask you 2 questions. Number 1, how can you transition your traditional lessons to make them work effectively in a digital environment? And number 2, do all traditional lessons survive the transformation? So if we put everything in Schoology and that's all we're relying on, is there a need for us? When you walk into your class and go, okay, go to Schoology, I'll be here at my desk when you need me. That's not where we want to go, right? So, you know, there is the place and time when we're in class that we're giving direct instruction, that's what we're there for. We're given that instruction. We give assignments in class that we want students to work on, you know, and we're roaming around the class helping students with their assignments. So not everything has to be in Schoology. So Jennifer and I have rights. We can see into everybody's classes. So we've been kind of poking and prodding around in classes, and we found some great examples of people that are doing some really great things. Again, remember I said this is a judgment-free zone. If you see anything plus or minus from your class, I've anonymized everything. So if you don't say, hey, that's me, I don't know. We don't know about that. So, but here's some ways that teachers have organized some things. We have some teachers that are using thematic units, big ideas, StoryCorps projects, Colonial America units, you know, unit-based. We have some people that are using it for class resources, particularly our math classes. Math is really hard in Schoology. Trying to have students do equations and stuff, there's just, you know, solving equations and solving problems. That's very difficult in Schoology, and that's, well, to do like a list of, if you wanted to solve an equation, that's a lot of steps, right? A lot of our math teachers are using it like this. Here's what I did today. Here's the class handouts. Here's the notes. Here's what we did in class. Some people have some videos, resources in there, Khan Academy. Some people are recording their own. You know, as they teach, they're recording their devices as they teach, putting their own lessons in there. Some people have some kind of time machine, some weekly based things in there. A lot of people have units, and then in the units they'll have, you know, dates listed in there. Some people have put stuff in and then hide it immediately when it's past due to reduce the clutter in their classes. Some people have different activity types. Here's March, and then we've got our warm-ups, and we've got our writing prompts, and then we've got our quizzes, stuff like that. So they've organized things by those things. And then we've got some people that have put some really beautiful graphics in on their folders, you know, kind of thematic based, and then put some really pretty things in there. So my point in showing you this is this. There are lots of different ways that teachers are using Schoology and organizing things in Schoology. But my question to you is, what do your students think about it? Does your organization work for your students? Now that we've been kind of using this for a while, now's a good time to check with your students and say, is this working for you? Could I organize this in a better way to be able to find these things? I've had students that come in and they need help with something or other. And I say, okay, well, find me that assignment. Well, I don't know what date that was taught on. So they have to go back, and they've gone into 7 folders before they finally found the assignment, because it may not have been broken down by unit, right? And the organizational schema, when they go back to find things or study from it, it's a little bit more difficult for them to use because of the way the teacher had things organized. I've seen some teachers that once we're done with that unit, they hide it, which is great, except that when they want to go back and study for the exam later on, where's all that stuff? I don't know, it's gone, right? No? Stuff that's stuff that you put in here, like if it's assignments that you've done as a Google Drive assignment, maybe. But you know, they can't see this document, this resource material that I posted, because I unpublished that folder, right? So ask your students, how's this working for you? Should I make some changes to this? The whole point here of today's class is to make it easy for students, right? We don't want to make it harder for them and say, screw those guys, man, you know? All right, next way to do this is to make our documents Chromebook friendly. I asked you guys to use your Chromebooks today. A lot of the assignments and the links that I have in the speaker notes, I want you to see how they look when you open them up on the Chromebook. Some things don't work really well. They work great on your laptop. When you open them up, boom, no problem. I can open and edit that. Microsoft Office documents, Word, PowerPoint, Excel, Publisher, things like that, they don't work really well for students on the Chromebooks. They're not native formats, and Google Docs has a hard time dealing with those. PDF files work great for resource pages, but if you want interactivity with those, you can kind of do that with Cami and some of the other things. We're going to talk about a couple of concerns with those in a minute. But you know, PDFs for the most part work a little better than these, just because of the format. PDF stands for portable document format. They're intended and they're designed to look identical no matter what device they're viewed on. Word files, Word and PowerPoint, Excel, Publisher, all those things depend on fonts that are installed on your computer that may not be available on a Chromebook. So a lot of times I see documents, we click on it, it opens up on the Chromebook, and it doesn't look the way you intended because spacing is off, because it can't find the font that it was looking for and stuff like that. So stuff doesn't line up. Stuff in tables particularly is a lot of times really bad, and things like that. This is a big one. Preview your lessons on a Chromebook before you give them to your students, so you know what they look like and you know what to expect. I had somebody in an earlier class say, well, I don't use a Chromebook. It's like, okay, well, so you're trying to teach somebody to snowboard and all you've ever done is skied, right? I mean, it's kind of the same thing, right? If you've never touched the Chromebook, how can you help your students use the Chromebook? So preview your lessons. Work collaboratively with another teacher or PLC. Build your lessons in a Sandbox course and then invite teachers in. Jennifer and I have the course codes for each other's Sandbox class, because we'll put stuff in there and say, show me what this looks like for you, right? So you can do those things. So we have our codes. If you have a PLC, there are actually a couple of PLCs around the building that have a sandbox that they use to build their courses in that doesn't expire, so you don't get kicked out every night. Helps everybody to stay in so they can collaborate a little better. Because a lot of things when you're building your lessons and your resources, you can't build them in the resource folder. They just don't work as well. Like the Google Drive assignments, you can't set up in the resource folder, so those things don't work nearly as well. Mm-hmm. Correct. Yeah, we're going to talk about that a little bit later on, so we'll get there. You know, make your colleagues an admin in your Sandbox course so they can copy things to their courses, because again, things don't necessarily copy as well from the resource folder as they do from another course. Convert your documents to Chromebook friendly formats. Google Docs, Sheets, and Slides are native on the Chromebooks. They work really well on the Chromebooks. Schoology pages are another great way to create your lessons and assignments. They look pretty well on the Chromebook. There are some Chrome extensions you can use, and the Google Drive assignment app I think is really a great tool to use for your students to give them starter docs. It makes it super easy for them to turn stuff in. Now, this one, Chrome extensions. So you mentioned Cami, right? Okay, so the next slide or two, I'm going to show you some things with Cami. Cami's a free app, right? You can go to Cami and you can, from your Google Drive, open with Cami, and it'll open your file in there, and you can edit and save and whatever. The problem is it's a lot of clicks. Students have to download the file, the PDF file, find it, open it in the previewer, send it to Cami. They can make their changes on it. They can save it. They can send it back. Unless you have the Cami extension, that's a paid extension, that's $100 a year. But if you have a lot of PDF files and that's how you're working with it, $100 a year for all of your students is very simple. If you got the Cami extension, it adds a link, you know, where the Google Drive assignment button is. It says Cami. You find the document, you attach it to your assignment. The kids click on it. They have to have the Cami extension. It automatically opens the document in Cami. They fill it out. They submit it. It's done. Just like a Google Drive assignment. But it's not free. If you're using the free version, We counted in one of the other classes, it takes about 12 clicks to get a document to and from Cami and saved and turned back in your class. And the idea here, one of the big things that we're talking about is reducing the number of clicks. Imagine you went to Amazon.com and it took you 12 clicks to put something in your cart and buy it. Right.
So what does that mean?
But when you can go to Amazon and click the buy now button, right?
It's there.
Done. It's there, right? One click. So are students more likely to do something that takes 2 or 3 clicks, or are they more likely to do something that takes 12 clicks? Exactly. All right. So let's talk about some ways that we have some documents linked to our Schoology classes. So the first one I'm going to talk about, this is a PDF, this is a Word document. These were added by going to add file or link from the materials page, right? So I clicked on these, I added these. Now what can students do with these? Well, they can click on it, or they can click on it and it opens in a new tab. In the Schoology previewer, they can make it bigger or smaller, they can make it fit the width, they can make it fit the height, or they can make it full screen. That's it. Word document or PDF, either one. It's really a view-only resource for students, and it's great for complex documents. I know a lot of times in math and stuff, the equations are hard to get to copy into Google Docs. So this is a good way to give them notes, to give them resources. PDFs actually, again, work a little better than the Word documents because they're a lot more compatible. Wesley LeCays was in here earlier. He has a Mac at home, and even his Word documents from his Mac don't work anywhere near as Word documents from a PC. But his default is he saves everything as a PDF, posts PDFs. The thing about this, though, is that it's read-only, and you can't really expect students to interact with either one of these document types when you add these into your Schoology. The other way that you can add these documents, this is, I created a page. I went into Schoology and add a page, and then using the link button down in the bottom left-hand corner, clicked insert a link or file. Looks exactly the same, basically, right? Except that this has the view button over here, and this behaves a little bit differently because if I click the view button on these, because they're added to a page, then it pops up in the Schoology viewer. Again, read only, no interactivity. Or I can click the file title, which downloads the file to their Google Drive, My Drive. Now they've done this in how many classes for how many days this year? So how many files do you think our kids have in their Google My Drive? Not in a folder, just in their My Drive. Like 4,000 or 5,000 at this point, some of them, right? How do they find stuff in there? I don't know. It gets to be huge and it's a little unmanageable. But it downloads those files if you click on the file name. If it's a PDF, there's not a whole lot they can do with it. If you want them to annotate this with something, it's downloaded to their My Drive. They have to go find it. They click on it. It opens in the Google Drive previewer. They open with Cami. It now goes to Cami. They make their edits. They save it, have to save it back to their Google Drive. Then to turn that in, they have to go to either the sharing link, grab the sharing link for that, or go to Resources, Google Drive, click, 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 click. 12 links later, they are able to turn in their document, right? After they found it out of 4,000 documents in their My Drive. So not really so friendly for students. The other way that you can put things in Pages is using the Insert Content Google Drive Resource app. So I clicked on the Insert Content and the Google Drive Resource app. And what I clicked on for this one was Import Link. And I got 3 files here. Now this first one up here is tricky because guess what? If you click on that in my Schoology course, it looks like it's what kind of file? A Word doc, right? It's really not. It's been converted to a Google Drive file. So it's a Google Doc, but it looks like it's not because it has the extension on it. If you're converting files to Google Docs, take the extension out of the file name. Gives it a little more, emphasis that that's not a it's not a Word document, it's a Google Doc. Now, this has a place and time. Beginning of the year when we're doing that slideshow and we want everybody to edit collaboratively and everybody gets a slide, right? This is a great way to do that. But it depends on what your file sharing settings are for this file in Google Drive. So you would have to set it so that anybody with the link can edit. Then you can pop that in there and boom, now that's going to work for you. So that one actually has a place and time to insert it like that. These other two documents though, they're imported as links. And what happens when we click on those? It opens a new tab, takes them out of Schoology, opens a new tab, and opens the Google Drive previewer. This is the Google Drive previewer here. So now students do have the open with, so they can open with Cami, and then go to Cami, and then save and click, 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 click to turn it in, all right? A lot of clicks, but it opens in the Google Drive previewer. It works with docs. It also works with the PDFs, but again, the PDFs are the better format to use. All right, so embedding documents. You can embed documents, kind of the same way that we did the other one. We can click on the Google Drive resource app, and for this one, instead of the link up here, I used import embed. So what does that do, and how does that look different? So this is actually the same document. This is my materials list. Here's my adding links. That was one of those other slides we talked about. Here's the slide that we're talking about now. This link right here is this. Kids click on it. It opens inside Schoology with the document embedded, right? This one shows up in my materials list with the document visible in the materials list. So what's the difference on those? This first one down at the very bottom on options shows up on the pages. I clicked on this and clicked display on new page. That means that it shows up just as a link in your materials list. You click on it, it opens inside Schoology. Here's my embedded document. This one, I changed that setting to display inline, which means that it displays in your materials list. So this one's good for like if you're giving instructions or something like that, you want them to be visible first thing in your folder. It'll show up there. Now, both of these do have one kind of big shortcoming. When you put these documents in your Google Drive, when you're in your page viewer, you don't see the document when you put it in, right? You see the placeholder for it, the yellow placeholder, and you can resize it or you can do whatever to it. But depending on how the size that you make that placeholder, this document actually scales to fit in that. So if I only set the placeholder this wide, my document comes out and it's itty bitty tiny, right? So I have to kind of be careful that I make sure that I've got the width that I want. You'll also notice on this one, there's a scroll bar here, right? There's more of this document than will fit down past the bottom. So I can only see this first couple of lines of this, and then I have to scroll in this little piece to see the rest of the document, right? This is a little better than the other link ways, I think, but these kind of still do have some shortcomings as well. A better way, especially if you have some text-based documents like instructions for an assignment or something like that, stuff that's pretty well text-based. I see this a lot, that people will have a page and then they'll have a link to a document that they pulled out of their notebook and scanned or whatever, and it's in here. And then the kids have to click on that, it opens in a new window, then they have to take their instructions, go back, and they're click to here, they go back to here, they have to go back to Schoology. We're not keeping them in Schoology, we're sending them outside a lot of times. So some better ways would be to recreate the documents. You can copy and paste from a Google Doc, you can copy and paste from a Word document, paste it into the Schoology page, and it comes out looking a heck of a lot better. That way the kids, they click on it, it opens in a Schoology page, it opens right in their materials list, again, depending on whether you set display inline or display in a new page. So This one is the same kind of idea, right? We copied and pasted, and then we put some images in. Believe it or not, that image copied and pasted from the Google Doc. We didn't have to reinsert that in here. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't, not 100% guaranteed. And then we added a video right in there. Students can then actually write in your materials list. This one is display inline. They can actually just click on that play link. It plays the video right inside Schoology. They don't have to exit. They don't have to follow a link to YouTube. Takes them to another tab, opens another tab, and use it there. They can, if they want to, click the pop out button there, and it'll pop out and take them there. But it's embedded in the page when you do it with that way. Yep. All right, so recreating documents in a native Schoology format. You can copy and paste from Word documents or from Google Documents. It does actually copy the formatting from those documents in. It'll copy font sizes, colors, alignment, a lot of stuff. To give your documents a little bit better uniformity on your pages so they're not wildly different, you can use these tools, on your toolbar there to set bold, italics, underline, bullets for, if you have list items, you can set a numbered list, text colors, background colors. You can set text alignment, left, right, center. You can indent things. This button right here allows you to put like superscript and subscript. If you want first, second, third, or whatever, you can do those things from there. I find this one particularly useful, the clear formatting. If I pasted stuff from Google Docs to kind of simplify it and make sure that it fits in the formatting and kind of standardizes my formatting, I'll highlight everything, click clear formatting, then go back in and kind of reformat my document a little bit. A lot of times, especially if it's really kind of Word document type things, a lot of text, instructions for something, for an assignment or something like that, it's pretty straightforward, and it really doesn't take long to reformat those things.
The biggest problem I find with Word documents solely is I used to use Sandbox Course.
Yep.
Work on, and when I went to transfer that in, it would mess up the margin. I found that if I created it as a single block of a table instead, and put the stuff in, it wasn't problematic.
Yeah, there are table rules here. You can set up tables in there. Tables are a little bit more difficult to work with. And a lot of times if you have those things that you've got most of your text, then you've got a text box, it might be better just to copy part of it, paste it in, copy the stuff from the text box, paste that in. But you might have to copy and paste a couple of times to get your documents moved in. The other button here, the insert content button, you can put in your media, so you can put images in there, you can put videos in there. For math folks, you can put equations and symbols and stuff in there. There are some apps that are listed here. Your list may be different than mine, depends on what apps you've installed in your class. And what these do, like the YouTube app, that embeds the video right in the page. Quizlet, it embeds the video, the Quizlet, right in the page. Not only that, we're going to talk about the embedded apps in a second, but a lot of these embedded apps will actually pass information to and from Schoology. So a lot of these things will set up a class in Quizlet for you, add your kid to that class, they can take their Quizlet, their grade gets passed back from Quizlet to Schoology, which hopefully next year will pass then from Schoology onto Synergy, right? So a lot of these things are very embedded, and I've seen a lot of people that have like Quizlets, and their instructions will be in a document that the kids have to click and open the document that says, go to Quizlet, use this code to join my class. Then they go there, they do their Quizlet, but their grades are stuck in Quizlet. There's no pass back when you do it that way. But building them in through some of these apps, it allows that two-way communication. Nope. A lot of teachers do. That's why it's in this class today. Jennifer wanted me to point this out, Tooltip. Tooltip allows you to take text that's in your page or your assignment, You can highlight it and you can make something pop up. So if you wanted to clarify something, or if you had a word you wanted to define, it doesn't take them outside of it. They hover over it and boom, here's the definition. I'm sure you've seen that happen on other websites that will make those tooltip things show up there. Jennifer's got instructions on her YouTube channel. You can take a look at that. It's like a 2-minute video to show you how to do that and show you what it looks like. This link right here allows you, again, we're talking about kind of standardizing your formats of your documents, allows you to set things in your pages, your Schoology pages and assignments. You can set paragraph as kind of body text, but you can also set up heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, heading 4. They're predefined sizes and types that make it a little bit easier. They also help with screen readers are able to say this is a heading 1 or heading 2, and it kind of differentiates those things a little bit. You can also change your font sizes. If your default font size of 12 makes it look a little small on your Chromebook, you can pop that up a little bit. Just be consistent is kind of my biggest thought about that. So which of these two looks a little more visually appealing? Same text, same everything, right? Black and white, little pop of color. Text color, background color. Heading, image, right? This is, to me, is a little more visually appealing than this. Now, Sandy Selassie was in here earlier and she said, oh, well, I want it clean. Okay, if that's your style, great, go with it. The key, though, is to try and make your styling consistent and try and make it easy for your kids to use. All right, so here's some assignment examples. This is actually, I pulled this from somebody's class. This was an assignment. It was set in here, so it's got a due date. Instructions and rubric are attached, and it had a little bit more instructions than that. I actually recreated it, but it says, turn this document in. Well, what kind of document is this? It's a Word document. It is a Word document. It's not a fake Word document with a docx on a Google Drive. So the kids open this. It's a Word document. They have a choice of downloading it or viewing it, right? I did both. On my Chromebook, the scoring rubric was unreadable because the table didn't format well on it. And it had name at the top because it's a paper document, paper pencil document that they'd used in class last year. If we're assigning this as a Google Drive assignment, there's no need to put name in it, right? It automatically attaches the student's name to it. It had lines, underscores. It said, answer this, and then there's underscores to fill in. Well, in a digital assignment, it's kind of distracting. It's hard to make that, it doesn't look pretty when you type that stuff in. So I reformatted it. I created a Google Drive doc. This was pretty much all Word. It did use some text boxes, but the text boxes actually converted well. So my word there is that Google Docs and Google stuff is always updating. So stuff that didn't work last summer might work now.
Okay.
So try it again, because some stuff I found
Yeah.
didn't
Beginning of
work
the year,
before.
it is.
Google is always updating, so stuff might work a little better. So I took the scoring rubric out of this document, and I actually created a scoring rubric attached to this assignment. It displays here natively in line with the document. So the kids, when they go to do this, they click on the Google Drive assignment. It opens. I took out the name field. I took out the underscores. They type in it. They're done. They click submit. It's done. The teacher then goes in, opens it up. The scoring rubric pops up, and they go 3, 4, 3, 0, 1, done. And it automatically calculates the grade and enters the grade for them. The scoring rubric, if you have documents that you're using that you're always using the same scoring rubrics, you can, depending on how you set that up, you can make that scoring rubric work for all sorts of assignments in there and make it available in your course and all of your courses. So create a new assignment. The scoring type is rubric. This was court case rubric. Boom, there it is, and it's done.
In resources, create a folder that actually says rubric.
Yep.
Then in and make your room so much easier.
Yep.
Because then you're just attaching it to the
Yep. There are links in the speaker notes for this page to tell you how to create rubrics, and if you want help with it, come see Jennifer or I. We will be more than happy to help you. You can do it there's a couple of ways you can do it, but if you want help, come see us. We'll be happy to help you with that. The key thing, though, is that this is a Google Drive assignment. Now, here's a tip for you. What happens when I copy this Google Drive assignment to another course? What happens to the attached file? It's not there, right? If I copy this file to my resources and the next year I pull it out, how do I find the file again? Well, here's what I recommend you do. Supreme Court cases review, I put that in parentheses right here. So next year when I use this, I know what to search for in the Google Drive assignment app so that I can quickly and easily find the file that I want attached to this for next year. What's that?
So what I started doing for my kids is the folders that you create. Let's say, like right now, we're working on Macbeth. Kids have trouble finding assignments, like Lee said. One of these documents, have them do actual folder itself that has, even if they have subfolders, break down every single one of those assignments as you're doing it, going back in, editing it, so that at the end of the year, just save it to your courses, and you'll have it.
Yep.
And the kids won't be looking all over the place. They'll know which folder.
Yep. Okay, so next thing, graphic organizers. So this might help with your PDF thing. So this is the way that I've seen a lot of people put in graphic organizers. Got my graphic organizer, it's a PDF file, right? So you give it to the students as an assignment. Here it is, it's a PDF. I can view, I can download it. Here I go again. Click, preview, click, to Cami, click, 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 right? Here's a better way. I've converted this PDF file to a Google Slides graphic organizer. There are instructions in the presenter notes. There's a 3-minute video on how to do this. PDF files, you can save a PDF as a JPEG. You then take the JPEG, put it in a Google Slides. You can reorganize your Google Slides and make it resize the page, whatever size you want. Put that in, you cut into a slide, arrange your slide the way you want. This is a Venn diagram. I use drawing and circles and everything. And if you just leave it like that, the problem is the kids can click on it and move it around and it gets all askew, right? But you set up your slide, you get it the way you want, you copy it, you go to Master Slides, create a new master slide, and then create a new slide from the master slide, delete your other one. Now all the circles and everything are the background of the page. Kids can't move them. Take a look when you get a chance. Take a look at this Venn diagram that I've got here. It has actually drag and drop boxes with a word bank that they can click and drag. It took me like 10 minutes to recreate that. Yep. Yep. And this is way easier for kids. All they have to do is they click the slideshow, it opens, they do the graphic organizer, click submit, and it's done. Instead, they download it, they click, 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 click. Every single one of those clicks is a place for them to get off track and go, I don't know what to do, I'm not turning it in, right? So we want to make it student friendly. That's a great way to do that. All right, we talked briefly about embedding the documents and the sizes. So when you put in a document, embed the document, and this works with other things that you can embed. So if it's an app, a lot of things have more pages than this. This is an image that I put in here, so it only has this page, but the tools work basically the same on all the other things. When I click on that placeholder, I get handles in the corners and sides, so I can drag and drop and restretch. And that works okay, and It works pretty well. If you drag the corners, it resizes proportionally. But if I click the image that's up here in the top left corner, I get this dialog box that pops back up. And I want to particularly draw your attention to this. The image description up here. If you have text in this image, you really need to recreate the text here. And the reason is this information image right here is used by screen readers. If you have a visually disabled student in your class that uses a screen reader, this information will be read to them. A couple of years ago, about 2 years ago, the school system got hit with an ADA compliance complaint because our public websites had images and they weren't ADA compliant. So we have to now make sure our public websites have image descriptions. If there's any text in this image, it has to be here to be ADA compliant. So we want to make sure if we have those students in our classes and for forward compatibility, if you've got image, descriptions or words or stuff in here, make sure you put it in the image description here. If there's no words in it, it's just a pretty picture of flowers, then put in here pretty picture of flowers. Okay. Alignment, there are 3 options, left, right, and nothing. Nothing keeps the image right in line where it is, but it also makes the line height the same size as the image. So you might have some text up here and then some text down here with your image poking up. It doesn't flow around it. Left and right cause text to flow around your images. You can also manually adjust the image dimensions there by adding in the width and height, or height and width. I'm not sure which direction it goes. The problem here, if you drag and drop, is that sometimes you drag and drop and then you look at it on the student Chromebooks when you preview it, and it still doesn't take the full page. Or you preview it and the document's cut off at the bottom, right? So once you get an idea of what the width is for a page and a height is for a page, you can actually manually just type those things in. It makes it a lot quicker to resize your images. Border will put, just a line around stuff. The vertical and horizontal space, when you float things left and right, the text will actually bump right up to the edge of it. And a lot of times that makes it kind of unreadable right at that edge. So just to give it a little more finished look, you can adjust the vertical space and the horizontal space to about 5 to 10 pixels. And that just sets your letters and sets your words off a little bit from the edge of the image. All right, embedding. So I showed you a couple of them earlier. There are actually tons of them. If you click on the App Center right here, there are over 100 apps that work with Schoology that can embed. Jen told me to tell you not to use the PlayPosit app from here. There's a better way to embed PlayPosit, but you can embed Khan Academy, YouTube, Dropbox, Nearpod, a bunch of other things. There is a list that's available on the SharePoint site when you go to SharePoint on VBCPS for Learning Management System. This link will take you to it. There are a list of about 60 apps that Virginia Beach has written instructions for. Tells you how they work, because each app works a little bit differently because it's an open API. Not all third-party developers use the same stuff. Some of them, like I said, will pass information to the app. It'll send student information. It'll create a class for your class. It'll add students into that class. It'll add your 2B students into their own class. Some of them pass grades back and forth from the app site and stuff like that. Jennifer's doing a class at the Digital Learning Summer Summit, and we'll probably have her teach one here at Salem before then, that she will teach you how to embed some stuff, but there are some examples here if you want to see those. But the advantage of using these is fewer clicks. The students don't have to leave Schoology. A lot of the apps that will work and run right from inside Schoology. So it's not click, 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 click. It's just boom, there they are. All right, so this document was kind of the start of this whole course for me. And I checked with the PET people, and they're okay with me using this and calling them out on it. They had a document that they came to me and said, our kids are complaining about this assignment. I can't get them to turn it in. They're not turning it in. They say it doesn't work for them. So I took a look at this document. This is page 9 of this Word document. It keeps going on for like 3 or 4 more pages. It was an assignment, turn this in. They had a lot of pieces to it. Journal entry 1, journal entry 2, journal entry 3. Okay. So journal entry 1, I click on it. It actually goes to a Google Doc. It's read only. I have view rights for it. So as a student in this class, I now have to make a copy, fill it out, get the sharing link, come back into this Word document that I kind of sort of converted to Google Doc, change the link, do the same for that, do the same for that. That's a heck of a lot of clicks. And honestly, for me, I wouldn't have turned that document in either because, dude, you're killing me with, I got to click and I got to change and I got, right? We decided to go on and do their next unit. This is what their next unit looks like. It came from a document that looked like this. Little pieces in folders. Hey, here's what we're doing day 1. Because you know what? Fitness entry number 2 shouldn't have been on the same day as fitness entry number 1, right? That's on day 2. And we've got some other things down here. And here's, right? So we broke it up into pieces. The next 2 slides here, this is what their original lesson was. If you want to take a look at it, particularly on your Chromebook, it's not easy to work with. This one. Okay, no problem. This one, this is the same lesson. We broke it down, and I didn't do the whole lesson. I just kind of did little pieces of it. So I broke down pieces of their document. Here's what the instructions are. Here's what we're doing. Here's the personal fitness contract. It's a Google Doc for them to sign and turn in. Here's how they're going to be scored. Here's the, I have 2 versions of this journal entry number 1. This one was the paper pencil one, name and block, and then item 1 and a bunch of underlines, and item 2 and a bunch of underlines, right? This one, I took out all the underlines, I took out the name. So I just made it a little more of an electronic document then. You can click on them in there. I don't have them linked up here. I'll get you the link before you leave today. So I know it takes a lot of time to create digital lessons from a lot of these things, and it's not a quick process. The unit that I did with the PE people for their personal nutrition unit took us almost a full 2 weeks to develop that before they started assigning it in their health classes. It's not an easy task. So here's a couple of tips. The DeLorean's not available, so can't get you more time, but work with your PLCs. If you don't have a PLC, create your own. I bet you there's somebody at another school that teaches the same course you do. And if there's not somebody in Virginia Beach that teaches the same course you do, there's somebody in the United States using Schoology that teaches the same course that you do. There are public resources. People are willing to share stuff. There are groups for just about every subject out there. Find those resources and work with those people, or come and see the ITSs. We are more than happy to help you. That's what we're here for. We're tasked with helping you guys to create lessons in Schoology and to help you to get used to using this and to transform your teaching to a digital format. That's what we're here for. All right, so our takeaways from today. Paper pencil documents may have to be revised. You might need to touch them and do something with them. Google Starter Docs are great. It makes it streamlined for students to turn stuff in. It's really just like 2 clicks. They click it, they open it, they edit, they click submit, it's done, right? It makes it a heck of a lot easier for them. Create native pages for Schoology assignments and instructions. There's no need to have, okay, I've got these instructions that I used to print to give them, so I'm just going to embed that as a document, so they have to go there, open that, click on that, open that. Now they have to go back to Schoology. Just put the instructions right there in line with the assignment. Try to minimize the number of clicks for students. Think and be conscious about how many clicks is this going to take a student to get there. Every click farther away is opportunity for them to go, oh, that didn't work, right? And for them to blow it up. Stay in Schoology if you possibly can. Limit your outside links. Preview. Make sure you take a look and see what your assignment's going to look like on a Chromebook. And we're here. We want you to be successful. We want your students to be successful. We want to make this process as easy as possible for everybody. We are more than happy to sit down with you and work on creating your lessons in Schoology. If you haven't completed the navigational marker self-assessment, please do. We're using that to develop our next PD. There are some frontline courses available. If you search in frontline for iTech, you'll find a bunch of Schoology courses, division-wide Schoology courses to help you out with some of these things. The Digital Learning Summer Summit, there were only 2 dates this year. Last year there were 4 dates. There were 2 in June and 2 in August. This year we've combined those, so it's just 1 date in June, 1 date in August. June 19th, August 13th, there are morning and afternoon sessions. They're worth 4 points apiece. They are in Schoology. Larkspur, I believe. Yep. And that's all I got for you. So hopefully you got some ideas about some things. Take a look at your classes, see what you're doing in your classes. And keep in mind, we want to make it easy for students. We don't want to make it as difficult as possible for them. We're not out to get the students and say, oh, you didn't turn it in. Well, you didn't turn it in because I didn't make it easy for you to turn it in, right? Make it as easy for them as possible to get their stuff turned in. And that's all I got. Thanks, and have a great weekend. All right. It is in our ITS folder. I put a link to the presentation. Here's the link to the presentation, and that's a link to my Sandbox course. You will get kicked out every day of the Sandbox course, but when you get kicked out, just join again. There are live examples of everything that I talked about today.
Okay. I'm on Wednesday.